be a sponge, and then bring the juice.
By focusing on your improvement, by focusing on your progress, and eliminating any fixed mindset that you may have and acts of perfectionism, then you encourage your own mastery.
On some level, we do what we want to do 24 hours a day. Now, sometimes it may not seem like that, but if I'm choosing to work instead of sleep, what I'm actually saying is keeping my job is more important than sleeping.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of getting beat. What can I do to get over this hump? So mentally, that's when I kind of put that forefront, like, hey, it's either all or nothing.
I like to put failure in quotations because I don't believe that failure is true failure if you're looking at it with the right mindset.
The truth is, the journey to greatness is hard. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, and every day you have to decide what you value, what you want to pursue, and what you want to achieve. And if you dig deep enough, if you push hard enough, we all have what it takes to be great. Welcome to the Edge of Greatness. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Edge of Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Charles Schultz, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, head baseball coach and founder of Pursuit for Purpose, Kirk Cabana. Kirk, thank you so much for taking time to join me today.
It's my absolute pleasure and an honor. Extremely humbled to be able to get the opportunity to join you on the Edge of Greatness podcast. Love what you're doing and the message that you send, out into the community of people seeking growth, and to be a little small sliver of that, and hopefully give somebody some continued inspiration or just some strength in their own journey. Just to know that if I did something that they could do it as well. And I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity to just spread some light.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to have you on. And last time we talked, you were battling some real poltergeist issues. And I'm wondering, have you had any more of those issues pop up, or have those been squashed?
Yeah, those were squashed. What I know now is that the generators for the school were working pretty well for sure. But yeah, something happened. I guess it was just a nice little windstorm that knocked down some poles, and then right at the perfect timing for it to make it look like we were having a haunted conversation for sure.
Well, it's good to know that the power situation actually corrects itself pretty quickly then, if that's
right.
What's really was happening out there. So I'm sure it's a question you get asked a lot, but where I want to start today's conversation is, tell me about going to JUCO at 30 years old to play baseball.
Yeah. And the fun part about going back and playing JUCO at 30 years old was I'm probably going to be one of a handful of people that get to experience this kind of journey. And, I don't take that for granted in itself. And so the process itself was a very interesting process to even get back to going to play junior college baseball at 30 years old. And because let's just be straight, it wasn't path A. It was not the drawn up plan from the beginning of, wasting and hiding in plain sight for 10 years of my life before I decided to go back and take advantage of athletics. I'd made some academic mistakes at a lot of the perceptive ages of what kids going to junior college, their ages are. And I tucked the tail between the legs and hid in plain sight, like I said. And, with those mistakes came the consequences of those mistakes, which are academic ineligibility. So before I even went back to play baseball at 30 years old, I had to go back to the classroom first and get eligible, because I couldn't go to the coach that I wanted to join their team and say, hey, coach, I'm a 30-year-old academically ineligible baseball player that wants to play next to you. It would have just got me laughed at even more than I was. So I went back to the classroom and got things right. And, Charles, the real thing about it was that's what was missing the entire time. I had thoughts at 23, 24, 25, but I wasn't ready to be a student yet. I knew that, and I wasn't going to go back and commit to something and not be the student athlete that I wanted to be in this process, because going back and accomplishing these goals and doing this, a lot of it was to show these kids that the balance can be struck. but you have to be intentional about the work that you do. And what do you know, now I'm a near 4.0 student. I love education. I love the process of getting to intentionally grow my mind and my skill set through the classes that I'm learning. It just seems like every class I take is the class I'm supposed to be taking right at that time, that gives me some more insight into something that I'm doing. And it's like everything that you do, what you put into it is going to be what you get out of it. And I've really enjoyed putting myself into the education side of returning back. So, once I got back into it and started going, I'm laughing at myself because the coach that gave me an opportunity to even go back and play was just an assistant coach. And, knowing what I know now a little bit more, I was probably just something of a number. I was given a chance to play summer baseball with the collegiate summer team that was of incoming freshmen. And I was pretty much told, like, hey, you're last priority on the list. I got to get these kids taken care of. I got to get them there at bats. I'll get you taken care of a little bit and do what you got to do. And, I got my at bats and it didn't go well. It wasn't like I came in and was shining like a bright star and was like, oh man, this guy's going to be some old All-American or anything. It's like, no, but just something told me to not quit. And on my last at bat of my, summer experience, I found what I could hopefully replicate. And I roped a nice triple, and again, as a 30-year-old guy running the bases and finding the triple, it's just speed was part of my game. But, after that, I asked the coach, okay, next steps, and I'm sure he thought next steps were, I'm done with them. I entertained it. Let's move on. And I asked, okay, so what do I need to do to join the team in the fall? What are my chances of actually making the team? He told me, well, probably about 5%. And I said, that's all I need. That's all I need. I need a chance. And so I went into the fall, and man, sitting in those bleachers with 75 other kids, just looking at myself going, Kirk, what are you doing? What are you doing here? There's 75 kids here. And, again, because I wasn't looking to be an All-American, I just wanted to be the 25th man. I just wanted a chance to make the team, chance to get 1% better every single day so that I could know, baseball is that sport. You can just compound your abilities if you work and work and work. And I knew I wasn't going to be the player that I started at the beginning. I wanted to be the player that I would be at the end of the season that gets me an opportunity to go to a 4-year school. And, Charles, my head coach had told me something on that day, and told not just me, but the entire team, that stuck with me and has been something that I now take into my own coaching philosophies, even now here as a head coach at a junior college. He said, I'm not going to cut you. You'll cut yourself. You're going to miss practices. You're going to miss classes. You're going to miss weight room sessions. You're going to not give your effort. There's any number of things that you're going to cut yourself that we'll find the group of 25 to 30 kids that we're supposed to have to go into the season. And as soon as he told me that, I knew I had it. I just knew I'd outlast these kids because I remember being 18. And I remember how much I left on the table at that age. And at 30 years old, I knew I could outwork a bunch of 18-year-olds. And then even with that, just a little bit more was I owe everything to that first group of teammates, because they could have ran me off that field. They could have given me no chance, but they did. They allowed me to be myself and contribute and just kind of be a positive influence on those guys as a group. And ultimately, they had to come up to me as players and say, Kirk, I can't quit because you won't quit. I can't let the 30-year-old guy be the guy that outlasts me and continues following his passions more than I do. So I really enjoyed and embraced, that opportunity early on to know that I was making a positive influence in those kids' lives. And if I could push them towards making sure they didn't waste this awesome vehicle that they have with baseball and give up on themselves like I did, then I knew I was doing something right. So I just loved the whole process, and it's only compounded even more and to being a part of the process. But even as we chat a little bit more, you'll hear that I got bored of my own story real quick, and I wasn't going to only be known or felt like my identity was then wrapped in being a 30-year-old junior college baseball player.
I love that. And there's a lot of places I really want to go with that story you just told. But the first one I need to know is, who wheeled you out the oxygen after your triple? Because I know myself, I'd be struggling real bad by the time I got to third base.
Well, my hamstrings are made out of paper mache at this point for sure in my life. So, even you're exactly right. Like it's exhausting, but in a 30-year-old body trying to still play in an 18-year-old mind, I only know go. I only know full effort, but my body does not understand that it's not the same athlete that it used to be. And especially because I hadn't been at least putting some work and compounded interest into everything. And not something that I've shared publicly, not unintentionally, but one of my favorite stories that I laugh about is I pulled my hamstring on day 2 of being out there on the field with like in the fall, but I didn't get to take any time off. There was no choice, like, because I couldn't go to the coaches and be like, hey coach, 30-year-old player, and I just pulled my hamstring, think I can have a couple of weeks off? It's like, how about you just go home? How about you're just done, But so I had to work through it, honestly, and just know I committed to myself in the mentality that was like, this might be the last time I ever run. Every single time we did sprints, and just going for it and just push myself, because what is pain? I mean, like, yes, it hurt, but after a couple of weeks of relentless work and showing my work ethic and abilities, and that I was able to compete with these kids, I kind of pulled one of the assistant coaches aside and lifted up my shorts, and I was like, hey coach, you see this black and blue hamstring? You think I can have a couple of days off? so I took 1 week off of an 8-week injury, and then just decided to keep coming back. So like, that's why I said they're made out of paper mache at this time and scar tissue.
I absolutely can appreciate that, because as a year away from 40, I find myself trying to do things I did when I was like 18, 19, 20, and I'm like, what are you doing? There's no way you should be even trying this. This is stupid. Go home. That's a bad decision. So being somebody as a non-traditional student and a non-traditional student athlete, what was the hardest part of that journey for you?
The balance, the balance. And, it's, my family doesn't get enough credit for everything that I've been able to do, because if I didn't have the supportive system that I've had, I would have no chance at any of this stuff. And I'm not talking just my wife. I'm talking about my employer at that time, which was a family business, who allowed me the flexibilities to, do everything I needed to do so I could work in the evening. And I was just so taken care of. And even though people questioned my sanity of why I was doing some of these things or anything of that nature, they supported me, because I think they saw the look in the eye and knew, like, he's not backing off of this. And that's just where it was. I didn't care if I failed. I didn't care. And I think that was a lot of power that I had, was I just wanted the chance. There was going to be no more what ifs in my life for the sports world. And fail, I failed. But if I made it happen, then everything that's coming to fruition is what the rewards got to be. And so, it was just that balance of, I probably haven't slept in 5 years. That's, and I'm joking, but it's an all day, every day, when you're balancing the aspect of going to school, which I'm still doing and almost done with my master's degree, having a full-time job, attending practices, workouts, study halls, everything that's required. And then also just trying to be a good husband and a good father, and, a good family member, and just a good friend as well too, to just those that need it. Because as you embark on these different things, inevitably some of the stuff that's happened is just people wanting to connect, because they're looking for a little bit of your strength at different times as well. So the balance has been the toughest part, and it's not an area that gets any easier as you go along, because as I've proceeded in this process, I'm not putting less on my plate. I'm trying to put more and more and more in an effort, in some sense, to make up for lost time.
What did that experience teach you about yourself?
It taught me that I need to believe in myself. And, I believe that where I'm at now is awesome. But it also has told me that a lot of the things that I failed at, I very well could have been successful at. And I just, I got to the precipice of a few different things. I was a football player that was set to go to a Division I school and earn it, got the scholarship, stopped going to school. I was into the acting world for a little bit of time, got to where I needed to go, and then backed off. And a lot of it came to be where I finally got to those points of where you kind of got to break through the wall. It's either all in or get out, because you're not going to succeed if you're not putting your full effort in. And early on in my process of developing, especially at an adolescent age, I was really afraid of the fear of failure. And, I was talented enough to achieve, but I was not ready to take on being told no. And I think that's where a lot of my power has come from now, is no doesn't scare me. Failure doesn't scare me. I see it all as the perspective that it's supposed to be seen in, as growth opportunities and things to strengthen from. And, it's not why I love recruiting, but it's not important to me at all if a kid doesn't choose to go to the school that I'm at. I just see it as an opportunity to connect with another human being. And I know if I go through the process of recruiting and human connection, caring about the person that's on the other side as an individual more than a number that gets to come into my roster, then I'm going to find the people that I'm supposed to serve. And if not, I'm going to root for those other people just the same, and know that it's just a part of the game. So life in some way is sales. And I've been doing that for different parts of my career for a long time. And, all of this stuff has not just impacted the baseball field, it's impacted every aspect of what I do. And I just see everything as growth at this point. And I don't try to look at, the negative connotations of what can come from certain things not going my way. I try to keep my cool, keep my composure, and know that, hey, okay, what's the pathway towards the right direction out of this, because we can't control what just happened.
So I want to dig into your acting career, but we're going to save that for another conversation. And I want to go forward with the failure aspect, because you've mentioned it a few times now in the last two answers, how you didn't care about the failure. You just wanted to continue to work forward. So how do you coach failure to your athletes?
That's a really, really good question. And I coach failure through my athletes by trying to set the tone before they've even failed, that I'm fine with them failing. That I want to create a culture and environment that the players within the program that is set up are doing things because they know it's the right thing for them to do, and not because their coach is going to be mad at them if they don't do something. I don't want them to have fear of me or what my actions are going to be because they didn't do something the right way. I'm just an effort guy. I want to see you give what you can and let it all out there, but I will get frustrated at you if I can feel like I can see, okay, you obviously didn't put any effort into it. We're talking about the idea of popping up in the infield and walking to first base or slamming the bat down and dismissing the game. And where now you've put yourself in that situation of where another player on the other team can decide, am I going to let this ball fall and take advantage of a mental mistake that he took advantage of? I'd rather create opportunities of where guys just give full effort, where there is no choice but for them to make the one decision they have, and that's catch the ball and move on with the game. But, and that's just even from the sense of popping up and, try your best to be on second base. hey, give your effort in the outfield to get to a ball and get it in, but if I can tell that you're just airmailing it to throw it and you're not thinking about the situations in the game, that's just where it's like, hey, we have to realize those different situations. So I'm trying to more coach the person to encourage them to make those mistakes and correct the action of, okay, this is what we should have done. Think about the IQ here in that spot. And now let's try not to make that mistake again. And now if you continue making that mistake, we have to try to understand what's your thought process in this situation. But I want guys to take an extra base if they think they got a chance to take an extra base. Want second base on a dirt ball read because you're going to get it. Now, I'm not going to get mad at you because you got thrown out because a catcher made a good reaction and made a good play. That's just kind of a part of this game. And I think that it kind of is one of those areas that correlates to the other things that you do, where if you are looking to pounce on opportunities and make the most of that opportunity, there's other good things that can come from that situation. And it's kind of that idea of in baseball where you can manufacture a run without a hit ever occurring. And I think we can manufacture success in other areas of our life without the home run ever being hit.
I love that. And you mentioned going now with building culture, a culture of fearlessness and not the fear of failure, but being free from that. So what I want to know is, what are you most excited about coming into a new program as a head coach?
Oh, yeah, exactly that. Building a foundation, building a culture and direction of players that just like you said, just get to feel free. I want, if I do my job correctly, I feel like I could be removed from the equation. And I want it to be player led and not coach fed. And I'm a person that's going to feed them a lot, because I'm going to give them my tenets, my foundations of what I believe in and what we should be built upon and the directions that we can take. But they have to walk through the door. They have to be the people that see it themselves, see some growth, and encourage each other, hold each other accountable in the processes, and take them to where the group can go, because I want them to be the people that at a certain point just they're playing the game the way that they know that they're supposed to play as the team that they are. Play within themselves, not try to be a home run hitter when you're not a home run hitter, not try to be a power pitcher when you're not a power pitcher. You have to play within yourself and also play within your team. And if everybody can understand and work within their roles, then I think that you can put together a really dangerous group of human beings who happen to play sports. And, it's kind of that adage of not the most talented teams win, the best teams win. And I think that especially in a sport of baseball, you lose. You just lose because the game is really hard to do, and it's really hard to do in long stretches of success. You just get beat, and that's why the worst teams beat the best teams all the time. It just takes a good day and for one team and a bad day for the other. But when you start to experience that growth, the experience that success, it gets contagious. And when you can see it one time, you know what you're capable of. And then it's just trying to build a group that's moving towards, that direction of growth. And especially in a baseball team, you want to be peaking at the right time. So if you go through those growing pains, let's go through them early, and let's learn to be the team that we can be and find our best way to be hot right at the end of the year and go in and make some noise in the playoffs.
Absolutely. I definitely remember beating some teams that we were definitely not better than, but you know what? It was our day. And so we went with it. That was the way to go. So what scares you the most about this new opportunity?
I'd be lying if I said it wasn't the fear of failure. It definitely has creeped back in, but again, I then have to breathe, kind of look at everything and know that it's not an accident. I've definitely, because of the quick path that I've had in this journey, and realizing how many amazing people are in this game who are not where I'm at, but have been at it a lot longer, like I definitely get some imposter syndrome, and it's hard to I just feel like it's a natural human emotion as you grow and you step into waters that you've never been in, but you can't be successful at something that you've never done until you have a chance to do it. So, it's that aspect of where I say I'm afraid of the fear of failure, but at the same time, I'm able to pluck it out, throw it away, and know that, okay, it's natural, but what habits, practices, patterns, and different, things have we done to rid ourselves of that? And it's just moving forward towards what I know I'm continuing to do. And, it's easy for the past to try to creep in. And I just know that if I keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing and doing it the way that I've been doing it, then we're going to find success. I'm going to find the right people that I'm supposed to serve, that I'm supposed to go to work with and go to battle with, and, help them turn into what they possibly can be. And, it's that much more of, Charles, it's time to put up or shut up. It's that type of thing. And it's just, okay, you've got what you've wanted. And now it's time to work even harder. now it's time to be even more focused. And I'm excited about it. And I embrace and enjoy that fear, which is the difference at this aspect. It's not a fear that paralyzes me anymore. It's a fear that I'm grateful to have in some way, because I feel like it lets me know I'm doing the right thing.
I love that answer. I love the final part of that, because I do think too often we shy away from fear. We get that feeling of being afraid and we go, I don't want to go that way. That's scary. Instead of, well, that fear is telling me something's uncomfortable, and that means I'm on the right path, because uncomfortable is where we grow, and that's the key to my success. So I love that you're leaning into the fear. I love that it's become part of the journey, and it's going to be a powerful piece to keeping you on your toes and having you move forward. So in your experience, what's the most important skill to develop as a leader?
My first answer that pops in my head is communication. And it's somewhere that I want to get even better at for myself, but it's transparency as well. And all of these things I know are going to change and grow and mold as I gain more and more experience, but I'm trying my best to be the coach that I wanted as well, and I think that's what resonates the most with a lot of these kids, is that I'm not far removed from the trenches of where they were themselves. So I'm trying to relate to them and know that, like, well, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't be enjoying myself right now. And, if I'm not enjoying myself, how are you going to enjoy yourself? And it's just all of that balance of where things are at. But I think the most important thing as a leader, aside from those two aspects of communication and transparency, I think the most important aspect of a leader is to see in others what they don't yet see in themselves. And that's where I know that, I try to put myself back into their shoes of where we're our own worst enemy. And sometimes you need somebody outside of yourself to show you that they're cared for, that they're appreciated, that they're not insignificant, that what they do matters, and who they are matters itself. And so I think that when you can see what somebody's capable of and project that onto them, they know that they not only do they not want to let themselves down, but they don't want to let that other person down that believes in them as well, because it's a tough thing. And that's what one of the things of what, stepping into a leadership role there's people that see more in me than at times I see in myself. And I want to hold myself accountable to what people believe that I'm capable of becoming. And so just even with Pursuit for Purpose, with being a head baseball coach, there's people that are looking to me to be the person to guide them toward where they're supposed to be. So I have to in turn be able to look back at them and guide, and see that within them to be able to get it out of them as well.
You have a very powerful draw towards you as a leader that's reminds me a lot of some of the great people that I've had a chance to play for. But what I want to know is, where did this mindset of service, where did this belief in giving back to the kids that you're working with and this type of coaching style that is positive and reinforcing while being hard and I want to teach you, where did this develop? Where did that come from for you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I've honestly tried to look at it myself and try to understand where that came from, because I promise I wasn't always like this. Like I felt like I was pretty selfish. I felt at different times, especially in my playing career or anything of that nature, that it just, it was all about me, and I didn't think about other people. And I think a lot of it came when I started losing some of those things that I'd earned, that I had, as far as the athletic opportunities, that I had to realize that, like, man, it didn't work out the way that you wanted, and you kind of also weren't the nicest person in this process as well, or you thought way too highly of who you were. You need to come back down to earth a little bit. And I can't pinpoint it to a specific thing, but it feels good to be a good person. So, I enjoy knowing that, like, I just kind of got to make up for that aspect of where I just didn't serve. And I was ignorant to other people's problems. And, I felt like I was a very ignorant young man. I didn't face any real life adversity. All of my wounds are self-inflicted. And, I think getting to know people, hearing people's stories, hearing people's journeys has allowed me to go, like, man, I got it easy. And I got to be grateful for who I have that's helped me get to where I am and still sees where I can go, because I'm going to face some real life at a certain point. And I think that preparing in this way is giving me better perspectives on how to handle that different real life circumstances. And from a more broad answer, which still is the crux of what's gotten me here, is I owe a lot to leaders that have nothing to do with sports. Leaders like Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and John Maxwell. I mean, these people, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, like, I have just absorbed as much of that kind of mentality of growth, and just felt like this is so translatable to sports, because it's an opportunity to connect with the person and then, build the person. And we just happen to be playing sports through that process, which gives us a direct applicable, avenue to try to challenge yourself and go through those things, because there are not many circumstances in the training of life for adolescents that actually prepare them for the real world, unless you're, having gone through some crazy stuff. But sports creates situational awareness and the ability to process emotions, to make decisions, of critical thinking. I just don't see sports as a game that we're playing. I see it as preparation for life. I mean, I really, really do. And the best of them get to keep preparing for life through sports. But most of us are supposed to take the lessons that we learn from it and go from there and learn that, if we can be down 3 in the bottom of the ninth, you can meet a deadline that you're supposed to meet you got to find a way to put the right lineup, in a row and find a way to keep getting hits and hits and hits and making some calls that you can, hey, I got this thing set up and this guy's going to be there. Like there's a lot of just different stuff that there's a lot of comeback wins in life as well that, I feel like are learned on the sports field.
I love that. I think that's a fantastic answer. And I agree that sports is a catalyst to living life with purpose, living life with direction, having answers for tough questions, because the things we face in sports are very translatable. They give us that perspective and allow us to work through problems in a game so we're ready when those problems arise in our life. So what I want to know now is tell me a little bit about Monday Mindset. What made you start that?
Coach Sheets from Georgia Gwinnett, for sure. I mean, he's been like, he doesn't even know to the level of inspiration that he's given me. I've met him, we've talked, it's somebody that I do communicate with and share with, and it's somebody that I wish I was even closer with, type of thing. But, he doesn't understand that he kind of, for me, made me feel like, it was one of those, if you can do it, I can do it. And it's, gave me a lot of positive influence and making me feel and understand that, no, I'm not crazy to think that this is the way that coaches can make a bigger impact than just on the baseball field. And, I've loved that idea of just wanting to, to express myself and share. I'm not afraid to talk and but I also don't want to just talk to talk. I feel like was the right timing for myself to start sharing things that I've learned through this process. And, as much as it's for everybody else, those are segments that strengthen myself that I get to go back to and be like, okay, let's make sure to follow your own words of what you had said. And again, it's another aspect of that level of personal accountability that I want to hold to myself, that I'm hoping that I can help others instill within themselves. But if I can't be a person that is consistent, if I can't be a person that is doing these different things that I'm hoping others do, I don't know how they could listen to anything that I have to say.
How do you decide on which topic to share?
Oh man. Yeah. I think I just look at my own life. I think I look at my own life and just try to see, like, what do I need to hear right now? What do I need to hear, and what do I need to research a little bit further, that if it can resonate with me, it's just that adage of not everything's for everybody, but if it's something that made me feel true, then there's somebody else out there that it can impact. And you do it for the one, like you do it for the one person that week that it could potentially make a positive impact on. And if it's more, then that's awesome, and if others share, then that's awesome. But I've it started with less than altruistic motivation of like, I want to do this and let's blow up on social media, or like let's get some gigantic following, like, and then it's turned way more into what it was supposed to be from the beginning, of where just it's about the consistency for myself. It's about for the one person that it can make an impact on. It's for just the body of work that gets to happen. And like I said, it's for me and who I get to become in the process of building this personal catalog, for what it's worth. And I wonder what time it's going to happen where I got to revisit a certain mindset that it's like, hey, I was wrong, or I need to, readdress this and add on to something else. But the English language is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And there are no shortness of different varieties of topic within the same realm, because many of these topics, they and many of the topics, many of even the mindsets, they're not incredibly different from each other, but they all feed within that same, that same path of growth in itself. And I think that's kind of a part of what it is it's just trying to promote growth more than anything. And maybe that's a certain area that, you can see growing within yourself. And one of the things that I've really loved, Charles, is I've enjoyed when people reach out to me and say, hey, I want to hear your take on this mindset. And that's been a really fun one where those just things go like, I still don't know how to take a compliment. I still don't know how to take, appreciation for it. It's like, it's like, oh, wow. Like it's almost nerve wracking when somebody acknowledges or says to me in person or something, hey, that was a great video this week. I really liked it. It's like, oh, you actually watched that? Like, I know I did it, but I don't really, I don't know what to say. I appreciate you watching and thank you for not leaving a hateful comment.
No, absolutely. I totally understand that, especially on the social media side of things. There are some people out there that don't hold back when they're behind a keyboard. So one of the things you mentioned in that answer is the consistency and it being for you. And I find myself, I'm working through some things. We talked about on your show how I've been getting up at 5 to try to write. But the last few days for myself have been very challenging. I actually slept through my alarm on Monday. Tuesday, I woke up and I was scatterbrained and I couldn't dial it in and I was all over the place. So I'm wondering, when you're battling motivation, when you're battling putting out another Monday mindset, how do you handle the ebbs and flow of motivation?
Man, that's a really important topic to hit on, because neither of us can sit here and say with certainty that we're always motivated. You need to go back to the well, and there's different stretches that you might have some higher inspiration and things that you got to achieve, and then there's different stretches of where real life has introduced itself into your daily planning, and it's hard to balance everything that you want to do. I'd love to wake up every day at 8 a.m. on a Monday and be able to fire it out and get it done and choose the time that I distribute it, type of thing. But there's different times where it's like, oh man, meeting after meeting or phone call, and then, oh my gosh, it's 2:00. I got to get this thing done. And then the battle between the mind starts going of, well, or maybe this week's okay that it doesn't happen. And there's just different times that I've had to skip, or I had other things that were more of a precedent at that certain time in the day and in life. And I should have followed through with it on one of the ones that I just recently missed. And I was like, man, I should do Monday mindset on a Tuesday. It's like, it doesn't matter that I missed it. It's just about going after it. And then of course, I just convinced myself not to do it, type of thing. But I've learned through this process, and I'm racking my brain right now trying to think about who was the one that said it, because they deserve all the credit. But it was along the lines of, it's okay to miss one. Try not to miss two. Try not to make that a new habit, because it's easy to perceptively fall off the wagon. There's a lot of wagons. It's not all alcohol or drugs or different things. Habits are a wagon. And I had a stretch for myself of, I got up to almost 90 days where I worked out, I read, and I listened to personal development. And that stretch of 90 days was some of the most growth that I found. And I finally missed a day, and I missed more than a few. It just was like, oh, come on. Like, and now it was an excuse after excuse of, oh, well, my body needs time to rest, and I've been pushing it really hard. And I just saw a lot of really positive change and growth within that time. And I'm still trying to get back to that timeline of being consistent with doing those three things. Those are my three things that I try to do every single day. And I know if I accomplish those from a personal level, then, the day was kind of a success. I grew, I physically, and I'm not even talking about 2-hour workout. I just want to move my body for 20 minutes, 20 minutes of physical activity, 10 pages of a good book, and 20 minutes of personal development audio. And I feel like you compound those things over the course of time, and there's no choice but for you to reach exponential growth. So it's just trying to stay consistent and not completely back off the things that you're doing, regardless of the responsibilities that you have. And kind of end it with a quote from Zig Ziglar that's, motivation's a lot like bathing. It doesn't last every day. That's why you're expected to do it daily. And so it's you need to keep consistent with it and just keep feeding yourself the right things. And even though you've had a day or two that didn't go as smooth as possible, you got to remember those previous days that have all led to this, and then try to continue to just get back onto the horse and move forward towards the right direction, because things are going to happen. And one of the things I try to share with my players is, I'm definitely not perfect. I'm going to make more mistakes than you are, especially as a person that's got to make more decisions than you do. But I'm trying to go on this process of growth with you just as much as I'm trying to encourage you to go on the process of growth, for yourself.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that a lot of people look at those who have success and they're like, oh, they're just always motivated. And I don't believe that anybody ever feels that way. There's always struggles. There's always, the difference is the discipline to do things. And that's what we're trying to get better at, is the discipline to do the hard thing and to show up even when we don't want to, or when we're busy, or we're tired, or we have other things in our mind. So Kirk, as we wind down here, I want to be respectful of your time, but I want to talk about one more thing. And it is, why did you start Pursuit for Purpose?
Gosh, I don't even know why I hesitate on it. It's an area where I'm not shy about at all, but I'm also respectful of everybody else's opinions, so to speak. But Pursuit for Purpose was started because of my faith. I felt like I had a hand placed on my heart that said, get out of the way. I started Pursuit for Purpose with not being anything to do about servitude. It all started about how can I build an organization? How can I build some kind of something that can help me monetarily and this and that? And then and I just didn't like how that felt. And then I said, well, how can I build something that's more about who I actually am and what I've been through and what I want to see people, do with their own lives? Because I just want to see people be who they want to be, and not to say not complain, but I just want to see them try at what they believe that they're capable of doing. Whether or not it works out is completely irrelevant. But if they believe something that intuitively was placed within them, that said, like, I could be good at this, or I want to do this, like, I just want to see you see that out, because I don't want you to be 30 years old wishing that you can go back and play college baseball. I want you to, or be 50 years old wishing that you would have taken a chance and started that business, or doing those different things. Like, just try now and don't let it go on, because there's any number of reasons as to why we shouldn't try to do something. But Pursuit for Purpose started because I wanted to serve people, and I essentially got told, like, after the name came through my heart, it was just like, get out of the way and make this happen. And I brought it to life faster than anything that I've ever done, of just actually figuring out, okay, let's get LLCs, let's get a website, let's get domains, let's just do it and not hold back on what we can actually make this happen. And it happened really quickly, and then it's just continued to evolve and grow into what it can be. And I just wanted to create a community. I wanted to create a community of like-minded people that are using sports as this vehicle to achieve their goals and aspirations. And, again, talking about people like John Maxwell and Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn, like, there are so many great minds that have come before us. And if we're not learning from those people, then we are fools. Like, they have laid the roadmaps of how we can shorten our learning curve based on the experiences that they've been through for themselves. And I just wanted to start letting more people know about these people and sharing some of these different things. And many of the insights, many of the Monday mindsets have quotes or information that I learned from those people. And, it deserves to be known. And I laugh at myself that most of my mentors are passed away, like they're people but their information lives on, and it's even stronger today than it was in the past. And, if we can create a community of athletes and even coaches that are learning from each other and sharing with each other their different experiences and challenges that they've been through, then, they can strengthen each other. And because we're in this digital age, it's a community that doesn't have to be together. They can learn and network. Like, I just see it as this big group and family that can grow and know that you're working through the same life problems using similar vehicles together. Baseball is my only real network that I have right now, but it's for all sports. I want to see all sports be involved and get a chance to talk with these different leaders and everything of where it's at. And, I'd love for it to be a lot more even interactive with where things are at, and be able to have the kids ask the questions to different, people in leadership roles and everything and it's been there at different times, but also just trying to understand the landscapes of the different platforms and everything that's going on. Like, it's an evolving process, but I just am kind of willing to continue seeing it grow and multiply how it's supposed to. And again, like with where things get started, you get started with thinking that it's all going to boom. And I've fallen in love with the process of just seeing it grow over time, of where, okay, let's see where this can be in 5 years of consistent actions and growth. And maybe my own growth continues to showcase that, the things that I'm trying to share aren't completely irrelevant and wrong, and the people inside the community itself, as they share and they grow and they start to do their own things, that's where I feel like it really will start to expand and take off, as the people that have listened take in what they can and grow. And I know that's a kind of all over the place answer for how it goes, but it really is just a place of where I get another chance to serve and an opportunity to coach more than just the 40 guys that I get to coach on the baseball side. I want to help as many people as I can, not just the people that are in my direct team.
I love that. And I feel like that's a perfect place to wrap up today's conversation. But before we go, I do want to give you an opportunity for my listeners to connect with you. So where can my listeners find what you're doing, Pursuit for Purpose, follow you on social media? What are some of the places that they can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm most active on Twitter right now, and that's at Coach Kirk Cabana. And if you're wondering about any spelling, I got either Captain Kirk or Copa Cabana. So just got both ways there. And then the website is Pursuit for Purpose, and that's the number 4 in Pursuit for Purpose. And that's also on social medias as well, Instagram, Twitter, and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can find the Pursuit for Purpose podcast, where weekly I get an opportunity to chat with awesome people who are in the growth world, in the sports world, and you can check out an interview with Charles that I had, where we had a really, really good conversation as well. And if there's any recommendations, anything that you'd like to see, I'm really open and collaborative in this process. So if there's anything that I can do for you, a Zoom meeting for your team, I'm at this stage of where just kind of the money part isn't really important to me. I want to see things grow. So if I could talk to your team for free via Zoom or anything like that, let me know. I want to serve as best as I can and let things continue to fall where they're supposed to fall.
Well, Kirk, this has been a fantastic conversation. I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Charles. I really appreciate the opportunity to get to express myself and just, share. And I see these opportunities, man, as just huge growth moments. It only reiterates and solidifies further within my own heart, keep doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. As always, guys, keep reaching for the stars. Fall flat on your face, but remember, whenever we fall, always get up. Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. If you haven't yet, please take a minute now to subscribe and review our show. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But remember, no matter what happens, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.